Okay, here we come, Sammy.
Hi, sorry.
So, thank you for coming on. It was kind of shy there, so it's
Junior,
okay.
Auntie's doing an interview right now. I need you to go in the give me a sec.
No worries.
Auntie's doing an interview right now. Can you go in the living room, please?
Don't say any
And
bad
say
words.
quietly. Yeah. So,
Yeah. You wanted to say something, so I will just turn the floor over to you. And you got 20 minutes ish. If you run, if you don't need that much, fine. If you need a little more, that's fine too.
do you have any questions you can
Oh,
ask
right.
me?
I was supposed to ask you questions. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's
She's like, you have to ask
okay.
me
Yeah.
questions. And I'm like, yes, I got lots of
It'll just
questions.
kind of it'll
Yeah.
just kind of help me get going and get the momentum thing because I kind
Yeah.
of did something like this before. I think you're aware, which was like a 5 minute video, but I've
Yeah.
never had to like do it like this before, and I've actually never really told my story before. So,
Okay. Well, why don't you just tell us briefly about what it was like growing up for you?
just give me a sec.
Yep.
Lionel, it's the green charger in mommy's purse, please. Sorry about that.
No
Just I
worries.
don't want my phone to die on me. Okay, go ahead.
So tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up.
For me, I grew up in my home reserve for a good chunk of my life up until grade four, and then I moved to Saskatoon where I spent most of my life. Um, and so for me, I grew up at the time I did not know growing up that I was living through intergenerational trauma. And from as a result of residential schools, I mean, I myself obviously have not been to residential school because I'm the younger generation, but my family has. And so the trauma of what happened to them was passed down through me and, the family around me.
Mm-hmm.
And, um, and so I was unknowingly keeping the cycle going.
Mm-hmm.
And Um, I grew up basically around um,
I think
physical
you're putting your finger over
violence.
your microphone or something from time to time.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I think so. You just putting your finger over the microphone sometimes.
I think so. Oh,
Yeah.
and I turned it up too.
There we go.
So I grew up around physical violence, domestic violence. I was abused every type of way you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And I just grew up not having healthy any type of relationships, whether it's partner or family. I never grew up seeing any of that. Um, None of it was modeled healthy behavior at all. I can actually recall not one healthy relationship of any kind in my life ever
Mm-hmm.
growing up, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I didn't really have any role models.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really have any healthy what they would call a constant, which
Mm-hmm.
is a person that's just um a confident, or something like healthy person, a support person. I didn't have any of that. Um so I basically grew up around chaos and just complete dysfunction and disconnection and division,
Mm-hmm.
basically.
Did you did you have problems with substance use?
Um Actually, ever since I was 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
My first drug of choice was marijuana at 12 years old, and
Mm-hmm.
then I ever since then I've been smoking it, and throughout my most of my life. And then I started from that. Then I started drinking at age 14. And then I pretty much was an alcoholic most of my life. And
Mm-hmm.
then at this when I started drinking at 14, I also started doing cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
And I was actually intravenously using cocaine at
Mm-hmm.
14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then it basically progressed from there. And then in 2014, I had Um, uh, I had made a really poor decision leaving a relationship with my kid's father. I did not leave that relationship in a good way. I actually cheated on him with somebody else, which I've never don't openly talk about. Not that I'm because I'm shame about it. It's just really hard on me because I have um come to terms with my decision. But when I did that, I ended up leaving him for that person. And then, because me and my kid's father, I basically continued the cycle that was modeled around me with my parents and their domestic violence relationship. And I continued that into with my kid's father. So I did not understand the intergenerational trauma plus the domestic violence and all of that and the trauma bond and all that kind of stuff between me and him that I didn't realize that what it was doing to my kids. So instead of leaving the relationship in with a like in a proper way with breaking up and stuff like that, I did it. I cheated on him and left him for somebody else. So as a result, what that what that did was it broke down me and my kids' relationship. And then when I ended up that person ended up leaving him for ended up being very severely narcissistic. He had like a cluster B personality disorder, they call it, and he was far more abusive than my kid's father was. And I'm not saying it was just my kid's father who was abusive. I was too, but I was more psychological, mental, and emotional. And that wasn't fair to my kid's father either. But when the person I left him for ended up being far worse. And I was really ashamed and guilty of that um, because um, I was very shameful and guilty about it because I thought I was, entering into a better relationship and healthier, and otherwise I wouldn't have broke up my family and even broke my kid's father's heart if I didn't think I was entering into something more healthier and better for myself. And when it wasn't the case, the year and a half into that relationship, um, it really broke me. And I ended up leaving that person a year and a half later. And then when I left him to cope with the failure of both relationships and the abuse that I endured from both of them, including what I also did to them, abuse wise, because I wasn't perfect. Um, I ended up intravenously addicted to meth, which I had not done ever in my life. And so from 2014 to 2017, I was addicted to crystal meth. So, um, and it was a really hard, um, it was really hard because I was purposely trying to kill myself. I was too chicken to do it by my own hands, even though I tried, um, various ways, but I was still too scared. So I just decided to just keep using this drug till it killed me. And I was purposely not eating and drinking water because I wanted my body to give out. And so that those were the substances I basically been using my whole life. Well, just like here in my life, um and I've been clean now from meth for since 2007. Um, but what really made me um, finally get
Your fingers on your microphone again.
oh sorry
No, it's
thank
okay.
you
It's okay. I didn't want to interrupt you, but
what really made me hit rock bottom was the fact I was reported missing in April, I believe, of 2017, I think.
mhm.
Yeah, 2017. And my family had reported me missing because I was not on like Facebook and all that kind of stuff. And I actually was in what I consider um, a confinement situation. I couldn't really leave um, where I was without my life at risk. Um, my family still doesn't know that really to this day. I don't really talk about it. It was very traumatic for me because I had to flee um that confinement situation I was in um just to get away. Um so when I fled, I also put myself at risk of these people coming after me and doing something bad to me. So um and these were like really important people, so they were fully capable of doing something if they wanted to. And it was such an eye-opening experience and very traumatizing that, and it was, I swear, I felt like it was the very bottom of, rock bottom. I thought I had hit rock bottom before that, like just even when I left my kid's father and then leaving him for even a more just very severely like narcissistic psychopath person, because he even that person tried to that I was left my kid's father for, he tried to he almost tried to have me killed and or hurt really bad in the hospital for his own drug debts. He had was buying drugs from higher up people and he wasn't paying them back and smoking up what he was supposed to be making. And I knew this, um, but what I didn't know was that he was blaming it to his drug dealers, blaming me for it. And I had my addiction had literally put myself in the most scariest and dangerous places I thought I would never be in. And I remember even when I was in my drug addiction before this happened, when I was reported missing, I remember being so angry with my family and because nobody was there for me, especially my mom, and I needed her the most, but she was taking care of my cookum. Her mom with dementia, and I needed her the most, and I had nobody, so I was angry. So before I was reported missing, I was telling my family that I hope I die or I get reported missing and murder Indigenous women. And I didn't know that that's pretty much where it took me. Um, so that was my rock bottom, and that's what helped me change my life around. And then plus two, I had a spiritual awakening. Um, Not long after I came back home from being reported missing, and so um, when I had that spiritual awakening, I knew God gave me a second, the Creator gave me a second chance, and I I truly believe that the Creator spoke to me, um, which much people don't get to experience, which is a real spiritual awakening. And I do believe I was going through what they call the dark night of the soul, shadow, like um, your shadow self, and like your shadow self, dark night of the soul is a real transformation and a real process. Um, and I couldn't have done that if I didn't have my spiritual awakening or the rock bottom. And what worked for me in my beginning recovery was not having a roof over my head. My parents took me in, actually. Um, and I lived with them my first year because I was too scared to live alone. In my recovery, I was scared of solitude, even though when you're in recovery, every recovery addict needs solitude at some point. we're, we're all so scared to like be alone with
Yeah.
ourselves.
I don't want to be alone, but stay away from me. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But we all worried about just being alone, period, right?
Mhm.
And even still, so no addict can do it alone. We all
Mhm.
need somebody. We need help. We need to ask for help. And some of us have grew up doing things for ourselves because of trauma, that we're so used to doing things ourselves, we're not used to asking for help. And so when I after I lived with my parents for about a year and a half, that helped me a lot because I didn't have to worry about rent or anything like that, eating or anything. And I basically too was isolation was my best friend the first year. I didn't want to go anywhere because I was scared of triggers everywhere. So I stayed inside.
Hmm.
And so and now I've been living on my own now by myself in my own place for 2 years now, and that's a form of solitude.
Hmm.
Um, and it's actually bringing me back to myself, and it's helped me be in with my own thoughts. It's helped me um, continue on my process. And I think the main thing that helped me in my recovery was working on my trauma, because I do believe that the gateway to drugs and addiction is trauma. Um, Whether it's childhood trauma and adult trauma. And if I do believe if we don't work on that or at least start the process, that our recovery journey will be hard.
Hmm.
Um, and if we don't dig deep and try to figure out why we were an addict to begin with, and what we keep hide inside and we try to avoid and not talk about, um, with somebody, a healthy support person, which is whether it's a professional or anything, we will struggle in our recovery. And so I'm a strong advocate for tackling um, that trauma. Um, oh, I'm so getting nervous. I don't know if you could see my camera shaking, but
That's okay. You're not alone. Uh, You get,
but is there
you know
any
what?
questions
Why
you
don't
want to
we?
ask me?
Yeah. Well, why don't we look at some comments here? We've got Deneen. I think I'm saying Deneen's name wrong. She told me how to pronounce it once, and that she spelt it phonetically for me, and I forget. I'm just sorry. But anyways, Deneen says I went from cocaine use to a junkie within 6 months. I understand the progression. And we've got Randine. I feel like you might know Randine. Randine says, I'm so proud of you. You are amazing and such a strong, brave woman. Hugs and prayers of strength to you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, so what's it like now? I mean, you said that you got here. Hang on a minute here. Hello. There we go.
Yeah,
Um, so you said you got clean in 2007?
2017. Yeah, in
17.
June.
Okay. What was the final straw? Like, yeah.
For me, the final straw was um, after I came home from being reported missing. I had
Right.
to, when I fled that situation, I fled to Calgary,
Yeah.
because I couldn't, at the time, I had a warrant out for my arrest, and I couldn't the cops had to, when I was reported missing, the cops need to see my face to make sure I was okay.
Yeah.
Um, and because I had a warrant out for my arrest in Saskatchewan, I didn't want to get arrested like that. And I don't really trust the cops, so I didn't think they would care. They would still arrest me.
Yeah.
So I fled to Calgary. And then when I got there, my childhood friend of mine let me stay there for about a month or two. And then from there, I went to my cousins. And then from my cousins, I went back to Saskatoon. And at the time, we had a family member in the hospital, Monica, and she was like she had almost died, but she didn't. And I just remember going there to all my family was there, like everybody almost. And I went into the waiting room, and I saw all my family greeted me, and that was the most like I've never seen people be so like grateful to see somebody alive. And so for me, that's what helped me at the time. Sorry, was that your question?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I just wanted to get the flow going again, so it's all good.
Is there
um,
any more other questions?
well, I mean, what do
Like,
you? Sorry.
go ahead.
What's it like today? Like, what do you do today to?
Hey, Today, I still actually, I've been working with my therapist now for over 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I see her every week. I've been dedicating every week to her, and she actually jokes about it all the time. She has like probably 30 stairs in her building
Mm-hmm.
to go up, and I have a walker because I have psoriatic arthritis. I need both my knees replaced.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really difficult for me to walk it because both my knees are bone on bone. So anyway, she gets really proud of me because I walk up those stairs with my walker up and down those stairs every
Wow.
single week, even through the like blizzards. I'll show up.
Yeah.
It
At all
doesn't
costs.
matter.
Yeah.
At all costs, I make sure I go every week. And
Mm-hmm.
I try to basically lead by example for my family because an elder once said that when if your family's all like in an addict and it's like a domino effect and one family member starts that recovery journey, that red road, it's like in a domino effect, everybody will start following along.
Mm-hmm.
And actually just last week my mom had agreed finally of me asking her off and on to go to family therapy with me.
Nice.
She finally agreed, and we had our first session this past week,
Mm-hmm.
and no words can describe how lucky I feel, and because how many any addict for that matter, but especially for First Nations people,
Mm-hmm.
how often do you see we get a chance to go to therapy with our parents and them even have the guts to do it
Mm-hmm.
with us?
Yeah.
Um, but she agreed, and honestly, she's the second domino in our family, and to me, that's my saving grace right there
Mm-hmm.
is my family all on the bandwagon. And I'm actually related to Jackie Okamasom. You just had her
Oh yeah.
yeah, on there. She's my cousin.
Cool.
And so me and her have this in common. And I know like I had an opportunity to do this with you before, and even though I didn't, like I got scared and I chickened out like I did now.
It's okay. No, all good. Um, is there anything you'd like to say tonight? If anybody's out there struggling right now and watching Christmas night, is there anything you'd like to leave them with?
um Ask for help and work on your trauma. Even if it's one little thing at a time. And the 12 steps really work.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was joining programs and classes like parenting classes to domestic violence to invisible scars, which focuses on narcissistic abuse. Um, and meetings, and also to letting in those healthy friends you pushed away and
Mm-hmm.
support systems back into your circle, and not and staying away from isolation, and be part of the land of the living. I call it.
Yeah. Yeah.
and and yeah, and just start living. Just start living in the power of now, and doing positive affirmation posters and mind maps, I call them. All that helps because I was doing mind maps actually while I was in my crystal meth addiction. It was really weird, but I was literally creating mind maps for my recovery when it's like I knew I was going to get out of meth, but I didn't. I still want, like I said, I was hoping to die there, but I was creating mind maps, and I remember like my other meth friends would come into my place, and I'd put them on big ass cardboards like the size of a door, and they'd be
Oh no.
mind maps of like what, yeah, no word of
Oh
a lie,
no.
and on how I was going to recover and what I was going to
Yeah.
do, and it was all perfectly categorized. Hey, and they walk in, what the hell did you do here? And and I honestly, when I tell my
No, it's
therapist to this
legit.
day, like it is,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I didn't know at the time I was affirming, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
And my therapist was just blown away from that, and she was just like, "You were making these while you were high," and I was like, "Yeah, it was." I said it was weird, but yeah. So
Yeah.
there's my success story.
Yeah. Okay, Sammy. Well, thank you for stepping forward in courage and sharing your story and saying a few words. We'll let you go, and
Thank you.
yeah, have a good night, my friend.
Can Can my family and friends watch this even after it's all done? Then?
Yeah, yeah, it'll be on the page.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Take
All
care.
right. Bye bye. Take care.